Are you looking for your next wine challenge? Do you want to taste more than 300 wines in 4 days? How about joining a community of passionate, qualified Italian wine specialists and gaining one of the most coveted qualifications in the wine world? Apply now to the Vinitaly International Academy and you'll have all this at your fingertips. Pedro Ballesteros, Master of Wine, says, VIA is the only Italian wine program that delivers high-quality training and serious exams. More details on our website www.vinitalyinternational.com.
Italian Wine Podcast. Chin Chin with Italian wine people.
Hello, this is the Italian Wine Podcast with me, Monty, Waldin. My guest today is Matilde Poggi. Matilde's family estate is called Le Fraghe, and it's in Cavaillon Veronese in Verona province in the Veneto region of northeastern Italy. Welcome.
Thank you, Monty.
So we're going to deal with two subjects now with you. One is your estate, Le Fraghe, and then a little bit about the Federation of Independent Wine Growers in Italy, if that's okay.
Very good.
So why, first of all, Le Fraghe? Why the name?
Le Fraghe means in our dialect strawberries. So when I started winemaking in 1984, this winery, it was a family one, and we did not know where this name came from. But then when it is very curious, because when I stopped using herbicides, so I turned to organic, it was 2008. 3 years later, I saw that these vineyards, which is giving the name to the winery, which is a vineyard in front of the winery, is full in summer, late summer, with wild strawberries. So I guess that this name, which was a name people gave this name to the vineyards in the past. I think, I guess it comes from these wild strawberries.
So it's amazing that how influential a changing farming practice has become, and obviously it's given the name to your winery. It's like these little plants were just waiting for the moment that they could come back up again without the herbicides, and I think it's a great story, and it's a real story as well about the power of conventional farming and the even stronger power of natural farming.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so when you were a young girl, were you involved at all in the family business, or were you just studying all the time?
We come, actually the family comes from Genova, and we moved to Verona province in 1881, and since 1960s the family, my father's family was vinifying and bottling the wines with another brand name. So I remember when I was a child, so we lived, all my life I lived where I am now, so in the countryside, and I remember when I was a child, after school in the afternoon, because at that time there was no school in the afternoon, just in the morning, and we went harvesting, and then during holidays we helped the winery, maybe labeling and making sets. Everything was made by hand at that time. So, and I really liked going to the vineyards, and I was very much impressed on how the vines are changing during these 4 seasons. So, and every year they are coming, they are starting again. Of course, this is normal for every plant, for every tree. But for me, I was a child, so I was very much impressed, and I like very much seeing how vines are changing during the season. So, and then I studied economics, so I was not studying anything related to agriculture. And then when I was 22, I decided to challenge with winemaking. So I started this own brand, Le Fraghe, vinifying the grapes of my father.
When you started doing that, that must have been quite a moment of truth for you in your life. Can you do it? Can you make wine? Can you make this a commercial success? Was it very difficult initially?
Yes, it is. It was because, but it's still difficult because with wine, I say always that it is a business, a very long-term business. So you must have projects with long term, and because you come from you start from a vineyard, and the vineyard lasts for about 45 years. And then every year you have to challenge with something new, because every year new grapes, new season, new climate, new weather conditions. Every year you have to look at the grapes, to try to see the plants, to see the vineyard, how it is, and you must challenge with it. So you must take the best from these grapes, but every year is different. So 35 harvests I've done so far, and nothing at all, because every year I have to learn, and I'm still learning. And so in a normal job, so 35 years is a lot of time, but in wine is really nothing.
Okay, let's talk about some of the grape varieties you work with. You have a white wine called Camporengo. Why is it called Camporengo, and why is it? What is it made from?
Camporengo is made from Garganega. So Camporengo is the name of the vineyard, and Garganega is the grape, which is an indigenous grape of Verona, very much used to make a Soave, so very famous appellation. In my area, I am close to Lake Garda. There was always some Garganega grapes in the vineyards, but there was a small amount, so maybe 15%, and it was vinified together with red grapes to make Bardolino, which is a red wine. And I decided in my father planted some Chardonnay, and I took it off, and I planted some Garganega in 1992 because I wanted to have a white wine made with indigenous grapes, and very happy with it. It is a typical Garganega, although our soil, which is a moraine, so we have a lot of stones in our vineyards, is very different from Soave, which is more volcano. So it is a typical Garganega, although it's much different from Soave. So
is it more full-bodied? Is it lighter? Has it got higher acidity?
No, it is. I think that Garganega in Soave is more rich, maybe. Mine is more straight on and a little bit more higher acidity, and no sugars at all, because I like very much dry wines. So.
Okay, so what you talked about Lake Garda. What influence does that have on the vineyards in terms of maturation and humidity and heat?
Lake Garda is the biggest lake in Italy and one of the biggest in Europe, but it's very deep. So is the microclimate over there, although we are in the north of Italy. And sometimes when I come to the US, when I say I'm coming from Lake Garda, people say, I have been to Lago Maggiore or Lago di Como. But this is totally another story, because Lago di Garda is a microclimate in the southern part of Lago di Garda is very Mediterranean, and you have the flowers and the plants.
The Mediterranean plants, even though we're in northern Italy, because of this big body of water that creates a warm.
Yeah, because it's very deep, and so it's absorbing a lot of warm during summer, and it is releasing very slow during winter time. So microclimate over there is very particular, and it's a warm area. Although I am maybe in the coolest climate, coolest area of Bardolino. I'm much more to the north of the area, and it is also very windy, because we are at the end, we are very close to the River Adige Valley, and from the River Adige Valley there is a lot of wind coming from the north and bringing fresh air and cool air. So is influenced where I am from the lake and the warmth of the lake, and from the mountains, and this breeze, this wind, which is every day there in the morning from 4 or 5 o'clock a.m. to 10, 11 a.m. So there is always air going on, and which is very important. I am organic, and having all this wind is very easy to be organic over there.
Okay. You make what's called Chiaretto. Bardolino Chiaretto. Rodon is the name of the wine, and it's made, I think, from Corvina mainly and Rondinella. What is that? Is it a red? Is it a deep rosé, a light rosé? What is it?
It's a very light rosé, and this is very traditional in our area to make rosé wine. And actually, Bardolino Chiaretto is the biggest appellation for rosé in Italy. And we make it with 80% Corvina, 20 Rondinella, Sagné with just 6 hours skin contact.
Do you ferment them together or separately?
Separate, because they grow, so they ripe at a different time. Normally there is a 10 days difference between Corvina and Rondinella ripening time.
So you pick Corvina first?
Yeah.
And then Rondinella?
Yes.
So what are the typical flavours of Corvina? What does it give? Does it give body and black fruit, or Rondinella light with red fruit? How does it work?
Corvina is among the two, Corvina is much more considered the best, so gives more tannins, more spicy, and is a little bit more difficult to cultivate because has small bunches but closed, and the skin is very thin. Yeah. So it's a little bit more difficult to cultivate, but it's giving this spiciness to both to rosé and red, which is for me very interesting. So I like that very much. And maybe Rondinella is giving more the fruity and some salt to the wines. And I really like these two grapes. They are giving very, very nice wines. I like because they are light. The rosé is light but very straight, very bright acidity, and of course no sugars left. And
do you drink that with food or on its own?
I would drink it a lot as aperitivo or also with food. It pairs very good with everything. Every dish is with tomatoes, and I like it very much with pizza.
Okay, with lots of tomatoes on top. What about the? You make a red Bardolino from the same Corvina Rondinella blend. They're both vinified apart, I think. What do you drink that with? A Bardolino? Do you have it? Is it a wine being sort of light and fruity on its own, or does that also pair well with food?
I think that Bardolino. I always say it is like a wine. You can drink it with nearly everything except for game or very
spicy?
Very spicy meat is not so much, but otherwise you can have it with pasta, with soups, white meat, fresh cheese, and also with fish. And I suggest always to drink it a little bit cooler, so not say like a white or a rosé, but 15 degrees, 16 degrees Celsius, which means if you are at home, just half an hour in the fridge, and then it is perfect. Because if it is a wine with a very delicate tannins, so not too much tannins, and so if you drink it a little bit cooler, it is you can appreciate much more the spicy and the fruity. So
that's great. If you're a sommelier and you've got Bardolino red on the menu, you know exactly what to recommend your clients when they're choosing their food. So you also do a Bardolino Classico called Brol Grande. What is Brol Grande? Is it the name of a place or a fantasy name?
No, it's the name of the vineyard. And Brolo in our dialect means what the French say clos, so a vineyard closed, so with a wall made with stones. And Brol Grande means it is the bigger clos we have. This is a single vineyard wine, Corvina always and Rondinella, always majority of Corvina to Rondinella. And I vinified it separate since 2011 because I've seen that this vineyard has always done very good grapes to make the red Bardolino, not the rosé, and so I decided to keep it separate, and then it is vinified like our Bardolino, but then it is aged partially in big oak, 40 hectoliters oak, old one, so neutral. And since 2018, Brol Grande, which is not yet released, was vinified and aged just in concrete.
Okay, now you're a member of FIVI. What is FIVI?
FIVI means Federazione Italiana Vignaioli Indipendenti, so it is the Association of Independent Wine Growers all over Italy. We are now 1,300 members, and I am the president since 2013. We are making lobbying, so at the institutional level, we are stakeholders. So we bring the voice of small independent wine growers. So which are the wine growers are independent because they have their own vineyards, they vinify their grapes, they bottle the wine, and then they sell directly, so personally, their bottles. Normally, they are small family wineries, and artisanal. They make artisanal wines. And FIVI was born in 2008 to bring the voice of these independent wine growers to our ministerium and also in Europe, to the European government, because everything in Europe regarding agriculture is decided at European level. So it's very important for us to be inside the Confederation of Independent Wine Growers, together with other 11 countries in Europe which have independent wine growers, and we make lobbying in Europe as well.
So what successes have you had with changing European Union agricultural policy regarding smaller producers, whether they're wine producers or even, I don't know, producers of milk or whatever?
It's very important to try. I always say that we must be there when the law is going to be decided, because sometimes it is enough to change one comma and bring it to the next word, to change the law and give evidence to these wineries, which are very particular, because we don't buy bulk wines and we bottle as soon as the market is going to ask for it, but we start from our vineyards. So we must bring, and we want to be protected when we make our job, which is to bring the identity of this terroir to the bottle, and we want to be protected. Sometimes Europe decided to make some laws which put the small artisanal producers out of the market. This is what we don't want to disappear.
So what kind of rule are you talking about when you say that edicts have been passed that have not helped the smaller independent growers, whether they're normal farmers or wine growers or fruit growers? What sort of thing are you angry about?
We always have to fight against bureaucracy, because bureaucracy for small wineries or big wineries is the same. The paperwork is the same, and for a big winery is much easier because normally they have some people working for them, and they are just engaged to work to make bureaucracy. For us, normally we speak, when we say independent wine grower, you must think about one person or one family, which is where everybody is making some work in the vineyards and then going to the cellar and making some wine, and then in the night, in the evening, they have to answer to emails and collect the orders and speak with the consumers, and then deliver the wine, and then going back to the vineyard. And this is so we ask to be a little bit helped to consider that these wineries have other requirements. I mean, they have other needs, not requirements, have other needs compared to the big ones. We have also a logo, and when you see this logo of which is on the labels or on the caps of our wines, it is a man bringing a basket of grapes on the shoulders, and in the shadow it becomes a bottle. That means that it is a man himself is making everything from the grape to the bottle. So I hope that in the future this logo, which will be much more recognized from the market, I hope that people will buy when they see that.
Well, I hope so too. I want to say thanks to my guest today, Matilde Poggi, for talking about Le Fraghe and for Italy's Association of Independent Wine Growers. And what Matilda's been talking about, this idea of the bureaucracy, it's almost like a disease, this the amount of paperwork, especially in Italy. And you get, my partner audits lots of agricultural enterprises. That's one of her jobs. She's a commercialista. And she can have, literally I can see 500 pieces of paper on her desk, to a ream of paper, all print-offs. And that's just one estate for like 1 month, maybe the agri-tourism, they've had some guests and they've had to buy some stuff and they've sold some wine and then they had the tractor broken, this, had to get an invoice for that and then the diesel for the... It's unbelievable. I mean, our house is full of documents, so I see that firsthand. I'm not making any of this up. This is true. Our house is full of pieces of paper. And it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, and it is also another issue, which is this is overwhelming, yes, and we are. If you have a winery, you must do that. So
yeah, you have to. Otherwise,
another issue which we have to consider in at European level is distance sales. And that means that sometimes normally selling a pallet to US is much more easy than selling it in Europe, because in Europe paperwork is much more important. So this is really absurd. But also we asked in Europe to have a law for distance sales, because selling wine from the winery to private consumer all over Europe, which should be like it is the law, so should be really our internal market, is very difficult. So here big wineries have a better life because they are imported all over Europe, so they can sell. And if you have private consumers coming, tourists coming, visit your winery, they buy wine, it's okay. Then if they go to their country, they would like to buy some more wine, and you are not exported in this European country.
But that's kind of ironic, because we've got this big debate at the moment about the European Union, which is kind of like the United States of Europe, and the idea is that, so we've got a grower in this case in northern Italy, and maybe somebody in Holland or Germany sends an email and money and says, can I have a case of your whatever Bardolino? And I would just think you'd literally take it to the post office, whatever, and send it away. And you're saying that's not actually easy as that. There's a lot more paperwork just to get that box of wine from Italy to Holland.
Yeah, and it is much expensive, because you have to pay somebody to make this paperwork. Because we are small, we can't do that. We are not allowed to do that on ourselves. So we have to pay a lot of money to other companies to make this paperwork for us. So which is because every country
because it's an alcoholic beverage, because it's alcohol.
Yeah, because there is excise duties, and every country in Europe has a different rate.
Tariff.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, I thought okay, so that's interesting. So anyway, wish you every success, Matilde, with your vineyard. Where you live is a beautiful place. It's very bucolic. And it feels really natural. I mean that in the widest sense of the word. It's not a winery that's been spruced up for fancy coach parties or fancy journalists. It's a step back in time, but in the best sense of the word. And the FIVI organisation, the Independent Wine Growers of Italy, have been very lucky having you as their leader and president. You know, you're articulate, you're coherent, you're passionate, and also your personal story shows that you're absolutely authentic in what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to the Italian Wine Podcast. Until next time, I'm Monty Waldin, and I'll leave you with an instalment of Everybody Needs a Bit of Scienza. Essentially, Vinitaly International Academy community members send their questions for via Chief Scientist Attilio Scienza to answer to the best of his ability. Cheers!
Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, Italian Wine Podcast. He just told me that it's... Are you recording this? Yeah. He's just told me it's like our style is Good Morning Vietnam. I don't know what that means, but let's call Susannah Gold from New York City. Here we go.
Dorme.
Ne forse in metropolitana.
Hello.
Hey, Susannah Gold from New York City. It's Stevie Kim here, remember?
Hi, Stevie Kim. Of course I remember.
Hey,
How
what
are you?
what were you thinking? You said you were going to call in at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock. That's like 4 o'clock your time, or 5 or whatever, right?
Yeah, I did.
You
I
did?
did.
Oh, come on, Jacob. She said she called. I'm gonna have to fire Jacob. I just hired him, and I don't have an alternative, so he's gonna have to stick around for a bit. Listen, Susannah, I'm here with Professor Scienza, un'altra, diciamo, amica, Italian Wine Ambassador, la sorellina di un'altra mia amica. Quindi io la conosco da un sacco di tempo. È uno scrive. Are you still doing the MW program? Silence.
No, lei.
No, you.
No, not now.
Not now. Okay,
Not
you're
now.
on pause. You're on pause. Listen, so I'm going to. Allora, fai la domanda al professore.
Ok, allora la faccio in italiano.
Ottimo.
No, se vuoi anche in Swahili, non lo so io. Cosa pensi? Parla tedesco però se
Anche
vuoi.
in georgiano, se vuoi.
Anche in georgiano.
Benissimo. Allora, la mia domanda è questa. Volevo capire qual è il rapporto tra Tintiglia e le altre vitigni del sud dell'Italia.
Sì.
Perché mi hanno detto recentemente che c'era un'uva in Spagna, nella città di Jerez, che era la stessa uva della quale io non so il nome, per cui mi chiedevo i rapporti di Tintiglia con altri vitigni.
Sì, no, non è
Ma
che...
ascolta, secondo te che accento ha Susannah? Un accento particolare, no?
Ma non riesco a...
Ma capisci che è americana o no?
No. Io penso che sia italiana, che naturalmente
ok, un complimento.
non ha
Complimenti, Susannah.
nessuna cadenza inglese, o pochissimo.
Non ho nessuna cadenza perché ho imparato l'italiano a Firenze,
Ecco.
quindi mi
Ah,
ha
ok.
facilitato la vita.
Si vede, si sente benissimo. Lei, complimenti, parla un italiano che forse non parlo neanch'io così bene, probabilmente.
Non è vero. Comunque la ringrazio, mi lusinga il complimento.
Ok, dai, vai.
Allora, la Tintiglia è una varietà spagnola che deriva dal nord-ovest della Spagna, dalla zona del Somontano, come viene chiamata. Ed è... noi abbiamo la stessa varietà con un nome diverso in Corsica e in Sardegna, che si chiama Caricagiola. Il Caricagiola sardo e corso è la Tintiglia, ed è un vitigno che ha un rapporto di parentela genetico con la Parraletta, che non è la Parelada. Sono due vitigni diversi, la Parraletta e la Parelada. La Tintiglia è imparentata con la Paraletta. Quindi,
Che è questo vitigno spagnolo?
è spagnolo, è arrivata con la Spagna in Italia, la Tintiglia. Anche la parola stessa, Tintiglia, si riferisce a tinto, si riferisce a vino rosso, quindi è un vitigno che ha molto colore. Tintiglia ha questa parola, come noi, non so, potremmo chiamare un nerello, per esempio, perché non ha un colore molto scuro il nerello come vino. I nerelli non sono i neri sono vitigni che danno colore in Italia, mentre i nerelli sono vitigni che danno colori più sfumati. La Tintiglia per gli spagnoli è un vitigno che dà molto colore.
Ma dove vengono piantate in Italia?
In Italia è Molise, solo il Molise.
Dov'è Molise?
Il Molise
No,
è...
era una battuta, Tiglio, dai, fatto pazienza. Ok. Ma sì, scusami.
Io gli spiegavo
sai
bene i confini del Molise.
No, una volta io sono passata in auto con un gruppo di ragazzi e parliamo di Molise, ho detto, ma dov'è Molise? E loro hanno detto, ma l'abbiamo già attraversata Molise.
Non c'è mica scritto sui Molise.
Sì, esatto.
Questo è Molise.
Però sai che hanno fatto una grande... pubblicità recente. Susannah, sei tu forse me l'hai detto che stanno offrendo i soldi, un finanziamento per andare a vivere a Molise, per aprire una
tantissime persone.
Ci sono moltissimi paesi abbandonati. Ci sono molti paesi abbandonati nell'Appennino molisano, molto belli, che praticamente sono quasi gratuiti, addirittura offrono per un valore simbolico di €1 una casa alle persone che vogliono a tornare a vivere lì, che possono sistemarsela praticamente, gliela regalano. perché sono tutti,
Sì, infatti.
sono tutti paesi che se ne stanno, perché Molise è una regione tipicamente montuosa, anche se ha un po' di mare, ma la gran parte del Molise è montagna, ed è una regione che ha avuto tantissimi problemi anche sociali nel passato e di lavoro con le persone, ma si è spopolata. Il Molise è una regione che si è spopolata.
No, però era uscito questo articolo sul New York Times,
Sì.
e poi hanno suscitato tutto questo interesse
Sì,
nella
sì.
nostra
Certo.
community. Tutti volevano
Sì, sì.
andare
A vivere lì.
sì, vivere lì, piantare i
Però non
vigneti.
ci sono strade, non ci sono problemi per arrivarci.
Esatto, è la parte romantica,
Sì,
no,
ma
dell'Italia.
dopo 2 settimane i romantici tornano a casa, però 2 settimane stanno tutti romantici. Poi
Però
diventano-
magari ci andiamo tutti ora perché c'è questa
Poi quando si
virus.
accorgono che non c'è la corrente, che non c'è l'acqua, che non ci sono le fogne, che non ci sono le strade, che l'ospedale più vicino è a 4 ore di distanza, che per andare a comprare il pane ci vogliono minimo 2 ore, a quel punto lì il romantico diventa...
No, ma ci sono i romantici
Sì,
che fanno
sì,
sta
sì.
roba
Io
qua.
ho tanti studenti che si sono laureati e poi hanno pensato di andare a fare i contadini come una volta, no? Con la zappa, il cavallo, le galline, la capra, eccetera, eccetera. 2 mesi sono
Sì,
durati.
McDonald had a farm.
Sono-
2 mesi
Yeah,
sono
yeah,
durati.
E poi sono scappati, non,
sì?
non ce n'è più nessuno di quelli lì in campagna.
Comunque, listen, Susannah, come va con il coronavirus lì?
Oddio, parliamo l'altra mia domanda.
Sì. È quella
She's so politically
è quella dei
correct,
terreni
yeah.
vulcanici, se non sbaglio, no?
Sì, fai la domanda.
Allora, la mia domanda è: il suolo vulcanico, della quale parliamo tutti ultimamente, cosa porta al vino? Cioè, cosa troviamo nel bicchiere?
Beh, noi dobbiamo intanto definire, direi molto bene, cos'è un suolo vulcanico, perché è una definizione molto generica, perché se c'è una categoria di suoli molto, direi, articolata nella composizione, sono i suoli vulcanici, perché possono derivare da rocce intrusive, fusive, basiche, acide, da lave, da piroclasti, da eruzioni marine recenti, antiche. Cioè, dire vulcanico non vuol dire niente, perché se io le dico che ci sono zone vulcaniche, ad esempio come l'Etna è una delle zone vulcaniche più recenti, molto recente, come anche il Vulture. Ci sono invece terreni vulcanici antichissimi che sono invece in Alto Adige, nella zona dei porfidi, tanto per dire, non so, pensi a Terrano per esempio. Ecco, tra
Sì.
la composizione chimica dei porfidi o dei basalti, anche dei basalti ad esempio di Soave, e quella dei basalti della struttura strutturale dell'Etna, c'è una differenza enorme. Tutti sono vulcanici, ma tutti hanno un effetto completamente diverso. Poi c'è un'altra cosa importante da dire: di terreni vulcanici puri ce ne sono molto pochi in Italia. Noi confondiamo molto spesso, non so, Soave per dire che è vulcanico. C'è una parte di Soave che è vulcanica, c'è una parte di Soave che è calcarea e c'è una parte di Soave che è il frutto della mescolanza tra matrici vulcaniche e matrici sedimentarie calcaree. Così, non so, per esempio il Vulture ha una parte che è vulcanica, ma la gran parte del Vulture è sedimentaria, sono flysch. La gran parte del Vulture è flysch. Perché? Perché le eruzioni che sono avvenute nel Vulture, come quelle che sono avvenute nella zona di Soave, sono tutte eruzioni marine sotterranee, sottomarine.
No, basta battere il tavolo.
Cioè l'esplosione del vulcano ha provocato l'uscita della lava, la quale poi si è nel tempo mescolata con i sedimenti del mare. Vulcanici puri ci sono, ad esempio, l'Etna, ecco, quello è vulcanico puro, o i terreni vulcanici dell'Alto Adige, quelli sono puri, tutti gli altri sono variamente mescolati. Ad esempio anche lei citava l'Irpinia. Ecco, l'Irpinia, la zona dei Taurasi per esempio, che è la zona così che nell'immaginario popolare è una zona vulcanica, la quota di zona vulcanica nella DOCG di Taurasi è la parte più piccola. La parte più importante del Taurasi sono i flysch, sono questi depositi terrigini nel mare. Ci sono anche delle parti vulcaniche, perché I terreni vulcanici di Taurasi sono il frutto delle esplosioni vulcaniche del Vesuvio. Non c'era un vulcano a Taurasi, sono i materiali lanciati, i piroclasti lanciati dal Vesuvio che si sono depositati nella zona di Taurasi e poi sono stati variamente mescolati con i depositi del mare, perché in una fase successiva il mare si è innalzato e ha coperto. Adesso con l'erosione hanno scoperto le parti vulcaniche e sono riemerse le parti vulcaniche, ma sono depositi che vengono in gran parte da queste ceneri lanciate dal Vesuvio, che ha lanciato ceneri fino alla Siberia. Hanno trovato ceneri del Vesuvio fino in Siberia, per dire
Wow.
la distanza che può coprire una cenere. Sono enormi. Allora i terreni vulcanici dell'Irpinia, che noi diciamo essere poi alla base dei vini del Taurale, sono una piccola parte rispetto a tutti gli altri terreni. Una parte sono di tipo continentale, come vengono chiamati, sono di origine marina, una parte sono i flysch, una parte poi sono di origine dolomitica, anche questo è importante, e poi una parte piccola sono di origine vulcanica. Allora di terreni vulcanici ce ne sono pochi, la gran parte sono il mix, ed è lì la grande qualità, cioè il mettere assieme finalmente le marne di un flysch, i depositi alluvionali o sedimentari di una roccia dolomitica assieme alle ceneri di un vulcano. Questa è l'idea. Dunque, perché i vini vulcanici hanno questa fama più o meno meritata? Intanto perché vengono da zone molto particolari. Lei pensi alle Azzorre, pensi a tanti territori, pensi alla Salina, pensi a Pantelleria, pensi, non so, alla zona attorno al vulcano, attorno al Vesuvio, pensi, non so, sono tutti quanti terreni che sono in ambienti molto difficili, dove la vite fa molta fatica a vivere, quindi dove concentra in modo particolare nell'acino le cose che servono per fare un vino. Comunque bisogna dire che questi suoli sono molto ricchi di microelementi, quindi i microelementi non sono ferro, ma sono anche molibdeno, sono anche vanadio, sono anche zinco, sono anche bromo. Tutti questi microelementi che ruolo hanno? Hanno un ruolo di catalitico. Sono sostanze che non entrano nelle reazioni della pianta, ma le attivano, le energizzano, e molti dei prodotti che poi ritroviamo sono il risultato di queste sintesi. Quindi un terreno vulcanico per sua natura è un terreno molto reattivo, qualcosa che dà alla pianta una grande energia nelle sintesi.
Now you understand why he's called a Flishman, right?
Mamma mia.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
listen, do you want to repeat your
Fantastico.
questions also for our listeners in English? You had two questions.
I asked those two questions. Do you want me to ask
Yeah,
them again?
can you say that? Yeah, in English.
Do you want me to say it in English and he's going to answer me again in English?
No, just repeat the question in English.
Sure.
We can
of
do
course,
this like
of
for
course.
10 minutes. You say it in English. I say it in Italian. You say it in English. Okay, just repeat your question, your two questions in English for our listeners, please. Susannah Gold.
Of course. So my first question was, what is the relationship between Tintiglia from Molise and other grape varieties from southern Italy? I've heard that there's a relationship between Tintiglia and a grape in Spain, in Jerez. Is that true?
And your second
one.
question was?
My second question was, everyone's talking about volcanic soil lately, and what does it bring to the glass? What do we find in the glass? And I was wondering if volcanic soils change a lot from area to area. I imagine they do, but I'm not sure why, and are there any that are similar?
Right, so you had mentioned the Suave and El Pina, for example. Okay, all right, so salutiamo Susannah. Thank you very much for calling in.
Grazie, spero di poterla
Grazie,
rivedere in Italia magari.
fantastico.
Ma sicuro, la
Bene.
vedrai.
E magari fare anche un viaggio in Italia
Ma spero...
assieme.
Yeah, we're planning, noi stiamo ipotizzando Sardegna,
In Sardegna, sì,
sicuramente.
una settimana in Sardegna.
So we'll give you more information about that and via community.
Facciamo il periplo della Sardegna in ottobre.
Okay?
Fantastico.
Sì, ottobre.
Sì,
Ok.
super volentieri.
Ok.
Grazie mille.
Ciao, Susannah.
Veramente interessante. Ciao, buona giornata.
Grazie, arrivederci, a presto.
Arrivederci.
Should we just press that? Okay, so that was Susannah Gold calling in from New York City very early in the morning. And thank you for listening to Italian Wine Podcast. Everybody needs a bit of scienza. You see, Jacob, now you understand why I couldn't just do the translation, like simultaneous translation, like, right? You understand that now. Is that clear to you? I cannot do this. Okay, follow us, don't forget, on Facebook and Instagram, and tweet us as well. That's at Italian Wine Podcast. Alla prossima.
Devo salutare sempre e ringraziare
Sì.
Monty.
No, l'abbiamo già fatto.
Perché non so mai quando.
Ciao Monty, ciao.
Io
Ciao,
ringrazio sempre volentieri Monty
sì,
per la sua presenza.
Va bene. Ti darà una padelletta in testa. Ok. Ciao Monty. Ciao everybody.
Ciao.
Listen to all of our pods on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and on ItalianWinePodcast.com. Don't forget to send your tweets to @ItaWinePodcast.